about the girl who beat my ass because she found out I hooked up with her dad. A little background information. I was a junior in high school and I was looking for a job to save up some money for college. So I decided I would try out babysitting. Well, one of the senior girls told me that her parents were looking for a babysitter during the weekdays for her younger sister. And I was like, period, because I needed to make some money. So she gave me her dad's phone number and I texted him the next day. Well, fast forward, I had been babysitting them for a month at this point. Well, during the winter time, this girl's mom had to go to LA for a business trip. And the trip was like 4 days long, Monday through Thursday. Or at least she was supposed to come home Thursday morning. So I was there every day of the week watching their daughter pretty much. Wednesday night I had to sleep over because their dad was going to a bachelor party. My parents were fine with it because my bus stop was like right outside their house. So I was sleeping on the couch and I heard her dad stumbling at like 3 a.m. He was drunk as hell, and I don't really remember a lot. All I know is that we kissed. Turns out the mom set up nanny cams before I started babysitting. Friday morning I was just sitting on the bus and their older daughter came up to me and punched me right in my face.
Storytime of how my entire virtual online class found out that I was pregnant, and one of them ended up telling my mom. So due to COVID, where I live, there is no in-person school, so everybody is virtual. So I was in my first block, and you only have to turn on your cameras for when she does attendance, and then when you're talking. So I was called on, and I had to answer a question, so I unmuted myself, and I turned on my camera. And then when I was done, I turned off my camera, and I think I forgot to mute myself back. After that, during that week, I was already having a pregnancy scare, so I FaceTimed my boyfriend, and I went to go take a pregnancy test. Mind you, I don't really listen in class to begin with, so I turned the volume all the way back down because when the teacher calls on you once, she doesn't call on you again. So again, I couldn't hear anything happening in the classroom. So I was on the phone with my boyfriend. I was freaking out while I was taking a pregnancy test, and it ended up coming back positive. So I started freaking out and I started bawling my eyes out. And in my room, I was screaming, I'm pregnant, what am I gonna do? I look back over and the session had ended. And everybody in that class is texting me like, oh my god, are you okay? I'm here for you, blah, 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 blah. So of course I start to freak out. I'm running out of time like for part 2. Part 2 of how my whole entire online class found out that I was pregnant and one of them told my mom. So continuing with the story, I texted a couple of them back and I was like, how did you know? And they were like, we heard you sobbing in the background screaming, I'm pregnant. Then one of them goes, we heard some guy in the background screaming, just get a hanger, and you were screaming, no! Then one of them comes to tell me that the teacher had to start a brand new class because I wouldn't mute myself. So then I emailed my teacher and I told her that I was going through a really hard time and I really do apologize. And then she explained to me that everything was fine, like she understands things happen. So we were all good until like 3 days later. And my mom calls me telling me that somebody in my class had told her that I am pregnant. And I tried telling her like, no, like that is not true. That is not true whatsoever. And then she sends me a recording that somebody else sent her of me in my room bawling my eyes out screaming, I'm pregnant, I don't know what to do. So somebody in my class was a big old snitch and sent a recording of me screaming I'm pregnant to my mom. And my mom is trying to force me to get an abortion, but I don't want to. To sum it up, I'm moving in with my grandma because she's super, super supportive. And in 3 months, I'll be having a baby boy. Storytime of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. I'm even pretty sure there's a couple articles on this. So basically living in the house was me, my mom, my dad, and my younger sister. This story ends up taking a huge twist, so just stay tuned for that. Also keep in mind that my boyfriend's name at the time was Jacob. When I first started to notice that there was somebody else in my house was when I first started dating Jacob. Mind you, the only time anybody in my entire family has ever been in the attic is the first 2 months that we lived there, and it was only once or twice, and we never seen anything up there. So we would notice that bits of our food would go missing, and every time we packaged leftovers, the leftovers in the Tupperware that we packaged the leftovers in would just completely disappear. And a bunch of my stuff would always go missing. For example, 2 of my pillows and 4 of my blankets gone missing, and my shoes and my clothes, and even my underwear. So one day my boyfriend came over and he left around 1 a.m. So the rest of my family was sleeping. Also, I have the whole entire upstairs to myself, and my mom, dad, and my sister sleeps downstairs. This story just ends up getting really crazy, so like for a part 2. Part 2 of how I found out that there was a guy living in my attic. Continuing with the story, I go downstairs and I walk my boyfriend out to the car. Of course, trying to be quiet because the rest of my family is sleeping. So I go back upstairs. Mind you, I have the whole upstairs to myself. And then I go to the bathroom and there was pee in the toilet. And on the wall in front of the toilet, it said Jacob was here with a heart. So I took a picture of it and I posted it on my private story because I just thought it was funny and cute at the same time. And he slid up and said, what? And then he swore up and down that it wasn't him. So anyways, it freaked me out at first, but at the same time, I didn't really care. So I didn't really pay any mind to it. So to speed the story up, my dad had to go in the attic for something, and he found an actual mattress covered in insulation. And in the corner, he found a guy. The guy looked very sickly, skinny, but scary at the same exact time. So, of course, my dad called 911 right away, and the guy admitted to stealing our food, stealing my underwear, stealing things out of my room, basically stealing from us overall, stealing our food, etc. I'm running out of time, but he ended up being a wanted criminal, but he's in jail now, so yeah.
In April we were in the pandemic and everyone was kind over it at that point. So I snuck my friend into my house for 2 nights without thinking about where she was gonna stay. So she slept in my closet. The morning after the first day my parents were gone to work, so we invited 2 guys over. Keep in mind we never met these guys, but we've seen them around. So they come over. It was really awkward and quiet the whole time. But one of the guys kept looking at me and was the only one trying to make convo cause it was so awkward. I thought he was cute and funny, so I gave him my snap considering I only had the other guys. We talked for a while and became really close really fast. He was 3 years older than me, but anyways we finally figured out a way we can hang out because I could never leave my house. And that way was sneaking out of my house and running away. So I packed my stuff and left at 2 in the morning, not knowing where I was going. Around 4 I was walking along the highway and got really scared. So I called my dad crying and he came and picked me up. About a week later they changed the passwords for the alarm so I couldn't leave without it waking them up. But I wanted to go, and this time the guy was going to pick me up just outside of my block. So I packed my stuff and threw it out of the 2nd floor window. I climbed over the windowsill and jumped off. I didn't have shoes on cause I didn't want to make noise, and I was jumping into concrete. As soon as I hit the ground I knew something was wrong. I couldn't get up, and there was a shooting pain from the tip of my toes to just over my knees. I heard my dad yelling my name cause my dog woke him up. As he was calling for me everything got dark. I passed out. When I woke up my dad was dragging me into the garage screaming, telling me to get up. I know he was stressed and confused and scared, so I get why he was mad. I cried and said I couldn't multiple times before he got it in his head. He picked me up and took me upstairs while we waited for my mom to get home. My mom works at 1 in the morning. When she got home she was crying and stressed. I told her that I think I'm paralyzed and that I couldn't move my feet. They got me into the car at 3 in the morning and drove to the hospital. Everyone was looking at me and I can't blame them. I was a 13-year-old girl crying as my dad carried me into the hospital at 3 in the morning while my mom was sobbing trying to talk to the receptionist. We went for x-rays and a CAT scan. I broke 5 bones in my right foot including my heel and ripped 27 tendons. And in my left 3 bones and 31 tendons. I had permanent tissue damage and a cracked kneecap. I was in a wheelchair for months, and the guy stuck by me the whole time until my parents ordered a restraining